All right, welcome everyone, ladies, gentlemen, everything in between, to episode 2 of Long Toss here on the Walkoff. Yet last week, I guess, was our inaugural episode. Went really well. So welcome to everybody who is either listening on iTunes or Spotify or watching the video on YouTube. I know we are live on YouTube right now, as we are every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So if you're in the live chat right now, Mark is going to be babysitting the live chat. So regardless of what we're talking about, if you have 2 cents that you want to chime in, drop it there in the live chat, and Mark's going to get to it. And then he's going to discreetly slide it my way, and we'll bring it up if it's any good, and we'll talk about it from there.
Adult sitting for the non-babies in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, I didn't mean to get ageist. Sorry, that's my that's on me. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Scott, let's start with you. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you again.
I am excited to be doing this again, my man. I know that right now I'm in Banff, so my mother-in-law is in town, and my girl decided that we should go to the mountains. I mean, obviously Calgary is an hour trip from the Rockies, so they are out shopping, which is just, if I can avoid shopping and talk baseball every time, I'm going to take that.
This is a huge victory. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Joel, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, Adam. I've been excited for this. It's funny that we start this roundtable discussion during a lockout, like we were talking about last week. You know, like what's our content going to be? But last week was so fun, so excited for this week.
Yeah, there's always something to talk about. So, all right. Nice to see you. Anyways, Craig, my bald brother, how are you? Nice Blue Jays jersey. Who's on the back of that?
Oh, I cannot even believe you asked that. I thought I would get away scot-free. It's the Stroh Show, and I'm no happier about it than anybody else watching. I used to be a huge Marcus Stroman fan. I cannot believe you busted me right out of the gate. And this is live. We can still edit this, right? We can still edit.
This is in there
when I was putting this on, I said, there's no chance on God's green earth I'll ever have to explain that. And it's the first thing out of your mouth.
Good times. All right. In the middle of the screen here, we got Karen. Karen, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. We had some technical difficulties just before we went live, but we got it sorted out right in time, so that's all good.
Yes, yay.
All right. Up in the
Karen
corner
doubling
here.
as a tech these days. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Send your computer problems to Karen.
No.
That's how I feel. Up in the corner, we've got Mark, who's also doubling as our live stream moderator. So thanks again to Mark for stepping up and helping out there. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks.
That's a Bichette jersey and a Roy Halladay jersey.
Beautiful.
Oh, we got two more down below.
And Martin, love it.
Oh, nice. Good choice. Awesome. All right. And then our special guest for today, Kirby Sneed, pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. Welcome, Kirby. How you doing?
Good. Appreciate you guys having me. Just hanging out, getting ready for season, hopefully if it comes soon. But other than that, just hanging out.
I saw on your Instagram the other day quite the feast that you had posted. What was that about?
Yeah, man, just I don't know. It's getting boring here at home. I'm ready to get going, It's kind of like going stir crazy a little bit. But
Adam, that was my mistake. Oh, I'm so stupid. I answered that question incorrectly. I can't stand up because of the logistics of the room. But of course, this is a Kirby Sneed jersey. What was I thinking?
Yeah,
this is a Kirby Sneed
you're
jersey.
really blue in here, Craig.
Yeah.
Good
Sounds
save.
good.
Good save. It's just spelt wrong, right? All right. Well, we got lots to talk about today, so let's get into it. Topics we're going to be covering is the ESPN top 100 baseball players of all time were revealed. So we're going to get into that list. Big news with MLB The Show. Shohei Ohtani is the cover athlete for this year's edition of the game. We're also going to get into NFL coaches. A few of them have come out and announced that they are in fact, allegedly, being paid to lose games. So some tanking topic there to talk about. Then we're going to get into pro sports skills competition at All-Star weekends. The NFL and the NHL both had their All-Star weekends this weekend, and part of that was the skills competition for both leagues. So we're going to give our thoughts on those events and what the MLB could do to have something similar to revamp their All-Star weekend. Then towards the end here, we're going to get into update of the MLB lockout, the mediation news or non-news, depending on how you look at it. And then we're going to end things with a kind of our thoughts on the Blue Jays farm system. Sports Illustrated kind of gave their rankings of all the farm systems in the MLB this year, and the Blue Jays were ranked 19th, whereas just over 7 months ago, a lot of places had the Blue Jays farm system ranked as high as 3rd. So what happened? Is that just Canada getting snubbed again, or is there a lot of weight in that Simeon Woods Richardson, Austin Martin departure from the farm system? So we'll get into all that. Again, if you're here in the live chat, please get your comments, questions in as we go. We're going to be flipping to that lots, but let's start with something from Discord. Mark, you got something from Discord?
Yeah, I got a question here. How would expanded playoffs affect the Blue Jays' plans for trades and free agency once the lockout ends?
Ooh, good question. Good question. Scott, what do you think?
I would hope it doesn't. I would
it doesn't?
hope that first place in the AL East is still the goal and that they are going to continue to bolster this lineup. That's the dream.
Craig?
Same page. Where the Toronto Blue Jays are situated right now, I've a pleasure of being on the Walkoff podcast a few times, and every single time have mentioned that I believe the Blue Jays playoff window is 2022, and for about 5 to 8 years, like Shapiro and Atkins have built something sustainable here. We'll get to that farm system in a moment, I know, but absolutely no. The Blue Jays are completely poised to make big noise going forward. The Toronto Blue Jays are not in need of any sort of shift or change or altering to the playoff system.
I like it. Joel, you're nodding along.
Oh, I agree completely. We're a 91 win team. The run differential about like the youth of this team stepping forward, like that's, if you're not looking at first place, I don't know why you would change your approach and be looking for the
easy
outside,
way in at this point.
Not
We could finish
not with this
14th and
team.
slide in. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Come on.
All right. Well, Karen, do you have any other thoughts before you pivot?
No, honestly, I'm with you guys. I think the team is already in win now mode after the season that they had last year and coming so close. I mean, expanding playoffs might give them a little bit better chance to get in, but I already think they're getting in. I think they've added, they're going to continue to add, and that's not going to change their plans. It's full speed ahead.
Well, I'm not going to get Kirby's thoughts on that because I know.
I was going to add just, I think just from the time that I was up there last year, there were so many close games that could have gone either way. So, my perspective on it is just, I think that everyone in that locker room, especially has one goal in mind, and that's to make the playoffs and get as far as we possibly can. And, sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way. So I think, this year anything can really happen,
Well, let's do some simple math on the 2022 Blue Jays this offseason. We lost Robbie Ray. We added Kevin Gossman. That, let's just say for simplicity's sake.
Let's call it a wash.
Let's call it a wash. That cancels
Love
itself
Robbie,
out.
but Gossman's a huge ad.
Either one I think is going to be in Cy Young contention and is going to be a legitimate ace at the start of the rotation. So let's just call it a wash. Who knows how it's going to shake out in the end. We did lose Marcus Semien. That's a big hole. Haven't replaced that yet. Relative to the 91 wins we got last year, and considering we lost Marcus Semien, how much does we got another year of experience under our belt compensate for the Marcus Semien loss? Like, if the season were to start tomorrow, and we made no more moves, is this a 91 win team, or are we getting high 80s, or are we getting more than 91? What do you think, Joel? You look like you got thoughts on that.
Yeah, I feel like a healthy season from Springer, a consistent year from Gurriel, which I really feel like he's at that point in his career. I think he's 28 this season. I think internally you see the offense being covered for with a healthy George Springer season. That, you get that out of your center fielder. You get with 910 OPS he averaged in 72 games. If he gives you 850, that's what Semien was, right? He gives you that out of center field, Gurriel, I feel like Gurriel is poised for an amazing season. An amazing season. I feel like that second half of Gurriel's season last year is what you're going to see. And the 25-11 home record when we came home finally is a big part of it. That's like not so much do I like Bichette Guerrero taking the next step for their age. Absolutely, that's going to happen. But the fact that they actually get to be a home team, for
that's such a great point, and I don't think it's brought up enough. And I'm actually curious, Kirby, like what the feeling was amongst the players, just being able to actually get back to Toronto. Like, was it a boost?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely a boost. With me being there, it was just my first time there, and I could tell just from the way the players felt. Like Bo and Vlad and all those guys. I think everyone was just ready to return to a little bit of normalcy.
Well, I can't imagine what it must have been like in Buffalo having home games where a majority of your fans are cheering Yankees, cheering Red Sox.
No, yeah.
That's just got to be so killer.
Yeah.
But
one thing I will say is, with the departure of Simeon and Robbie Ray, both of those guys had such a way of kind of showing guys what it takes and what that work you have to put in to get that. So I think even though they're not here, I think just the way that they influence some guys, I think just the way that they went about their business, I think it'll kind of help guys that are trying to gain experience. I think it'll help them in that little process of knowing what it takes and what they need to do to better themselves and the team as well. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, we just have a comment here before we get moving on. This one's for Kirby. Mark, do you have the comment there for Kirby Sneed about the AAA team last year?
Yeah, it's the 2021 Buffalo Bison's bullpen was elite. They're wondering if Kirby keeps in touch with Connor Overton, Brian Baker, and Hobie Burns after they went to other organizations.
Yeah, so funny enough, Hobie Harris's wedding was 2 weekends ago in Dallas, Texas, and I actually was there at the wedding. And about 3 or 4 of us were there as well. So, that group that we had last year in AAA was an awesome group. And I think the thing that really pushed us through was everyone had their own identity and everyone had their own way of, pitching just in general, just the way they threw the ball or the way they attacked hitters. And I think everyone just, did their job. Really, there was no competition between us. We were all rooting for each other, and it was a great experience. And, obviously everyone had success for the most part. So,
it must have been pretty darn cool to see, like, for yourself to get called up and Sauce to be up and then Overton to get the call and then Brian Baker eventually gets to make his debut. Like, just to be on that AAA team together and then all of you make that step. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a crazy year. We started in Dunedin while the big league team was in Buffalo. We had that little extra month off pretty much where we were just scrimmaging each other really. And then we started our season in Trenton, and then we finally got to go to Buffalo. And then, obviously I got caught up in between all that. So it was just a crazy year. But one thing I'll say, our coaches that we had there and just the pitching guys in general, David Howe was our bullpen coach, and then we had Jeff Ware. And I think those guys really just helped us fine tune our craft. And, there really was no bad days. It was like, it was almost as if, hey, if we struggle or lose today, it's just a learning experience more than a negative thing. So, it was awesome. And hopefully we can continue more success like that, not only in AAA, but up there too.
Of course.
As what did we hear Alek Manoah say when he was having hard times on the big league level? He said, hey, I just take these things as learning experiences. Very interesting to hear Kirby Sneed say that, because we often talk about the culture being built by this organization right now. We just heard an example of it right out of Kirby Sneed's mouth right there.
Yeah,
very true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another point on the 91 win team, though, is think about last year, going into last year, Ryu was our number one starter. He's now 4? Yeah. We've slotted 3 guys above our number one starter from last year. So the losses that we've had from a offensive standpoint, we have long-term we built a foundation for the starting rotation, this team too. So,
and Connie, can we get healthy starting? There were 2 times this season where my damn phone went off with a Twitter notification that tonight's Blue Jays starting pitcher is out because he slipped on stairs. Like, are you absolutely kidding? We had the worst luck. Worst luck I've ever seen.
Yeah, nothing but Rams this year.
When Alec Manoah went down, I was just like, Robbie Ray's kid better have been nowhere to be found. Like, keep that kid out of the clubhouse.
Yeah,
all right, Mark, do you have another topic there from Discord before we get into the ESPN
before we do
list?
that, let's hear what Karen had to say there.
Oh, Karen, you're jumping in?
Thanks. Yeah, no, I actually wrote a piece about this for Jays from the Couch about how I believe that the Blue Jays will be poised to do well in the 2022 season. And I mentioned a couple of things that you guys mentioned, that the hope that George Springer will be healthy and being back in Toronto, and also things that you want to look at are a full season from Alec Manoah because he was only called up in late May, a full season from Jose Barrios because they only got him at the end of July. And I see a potential for bounce back or step forward seasons from a number of in-house guys like Gurriel. I'm a huge fan of Gurriel. Kevin Biggio, I think he was playing hurt for a lot of last year. I don't think what we saw from him last year is the best that he can do. And even Danny Jansen, after like an abysmal April, he was totally different out there.
Great point.
So, and they're not finished adding. So,
Karen, thank you for some Kevin
Biggio
love.
Point,
yeah, the fan base has somehow turned the page on Kevin Biggio. I don't get it, Karen. It's very possible. Maybe Kirby can even chime in. I would say probable that we did not see one moment of Kevin Biggio healthy last season. So, man, the Blue Jays haven't turned the page on him. I'll tell you that. Have you heard Atkins talk about this guy? The Blue Jays have not turned the page on him.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say about Kevin is, he's the same person every day. There's really nothing to him that, even with the injuries and the struggling a little bit, he's still putting the work in, and his, the way he carries himself, obviously it's easy when you have a Hall of Fame dad, but, obviously I've played with him for many years now. So I've seen it and I've experienced it. And, I think he'll be perfectly fine for 2022. So.
And there is something to be said for that sort of mental fortitude of being able to, let's face it, he was obviously struggling injury-wise until he was put on the IL, and then he came back and he had like that 3-week window where he seemed himself, and then all of a sudden right back to it, and then to need to go and rehab in AAA while the team's making that huge push. Not every guy can just go in there and still put in the work in scenarios like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I agree with Craig and everyone here who has mentioned it, right? That he's going to be fine.
Also, we talked about robot umpires. He's the guy who's going to.
I was thinking the same thing. Yes.
With robot umpires, right? He's got the best chase rate in all of baseball. So if robot umpires affect a hitter, it's going to affect Kevin Biggio a ton. So you can't get rid of him until you find out.
He might be the only player who's for robot umpires.
0 strikeouts for Kevin in 2022. Right,
400 OBP.
Yeah.
God, I love you bringing up the mental point as well, though, because remember, it's at one point, and I know it's hard to believe because this Blue Jay offense was so good in 2021, but do you remember at one point, second half of the season, they were scuffling, and Dante Bichette joined them on the road. You guys remember that? And Bichette talked about his interaction with the players, and it was not X's and O's at all. To Scott's point, it was all, what are you thinking right now? What's your thought process? I noticed you had this pitcher in this situation yesterday when you're walking up to the plate. What's going through your mind? It is the mental aspect of it. To Kirby's point, that these guys coming up through seeing it through their dad's lenses through big league baseball, Kevin Biggio was completely well aware of the ups and downs of big league baseball. So I think it's a great point as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's flash forward a second here then. Mark, do you have something from Discord for us to get to?
Yeah, I guess there's been a lot of discussion about if the Jays want to compete, what guys are we gonna pick up? Are we gonna get Jose Ramirez trade, sign this guy? I guess there's one topic we had this week was, do we need to do any of that? Or this might not be a question for Kirby, but can Espinal be that guy? Or do we need to go pick somebody up?
Okay, let's dive into that then. We just talked Kevin Biggio for a bit. Let's talk Espinal at third base. If he is our everyday third baseman going into this season, are we feeling good about that? Feel free,
Personally,
anybody
I
jump
am.
in.
I absolutely am. The one thing I admire and respect the most about Shapiro and Atkins is they kick every tire that exists. They have such a knowledge of the landscape of what's going on in big league baseball. So I have full confidence that they will be looking to upgrade at third base. If where the Jays end up is with Santiago Espinal, run that by other fan bases. Hey, here's our worst case scenario. It's Santiago Espinal. It's a guy who does situational hitting. It's a guy who's very good defensively. He'll run the base as well. He's a fantastic team player. Run that by other fan bases as a worst case scenario. I don't think they're shedding tears for us, to be honest with you. I am totally comfortable with seeing what Espinal can do with 500 to 600 at bats in a season. I'm on board.
What did he hit? 300 last year? 310?
Yeah,
Over
he did,
300.
311.
When he played, the Jays won games. He contributes to winning.
I still think about that barehanded grab he made.
Oh my God, that was epic.
First game home.
I was at that game.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yes.
I was on the third baseline. I was 30 feet away from him. It was
Well,
great.
Well,
Defensively, he is completely solid at
Capable,
third base. Yeah,
And versatile. He can play different positions.
100%.
yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
a situation where Cavan may get starts at third. If you get Moreno up at some point and you're wanting to get him at the lineup at third base, like it's not something where you're asked. Potentially, you don't have to ask 150 games of him, but starting the season, absolutely. And you get to a point where you're able to make a big move somewhere during the season. Like that's always an upgrade that you can make. But yeah, like Santiago Espinal at third base, that's not a weakness. And
Well, let's face it, this is obviously a guy that this front office has liked for a long time. Even when they traded Steve Pearce for him back in 2018, they ate Steve Pearce's salary to get that higher end prospect that they wanted, and Espinal was the guy they were after. And Boston didn't want to move him, and they said, well, would us eating that last $3 million of Pearce's salary do it? And it did it. So I think that I wouldn't be shocked, I guess is what I'm saying, if this front office gives him a chance to prove himself at third. I still think there is going to be reinforcements coming in the infield, but maybe with him being adequate at third base and being the guy that he is, maybe they could wind up with, going for a second baseman or wherever.
Here's a point, actually, to ask for Kirby. You can see that the team is so tight. You can see how tight that like Guerrero is with Gurriel, and like Espinal seems to be like that guy who everybody's really tight with. Like I remember when Espinal's getting hits and he was first getting into the lineup, the reaction of the players on the bench to him, any piece of success that he was having. And there's got to be something to be said for that internal love that you guys have for each other, and you want the guy to succeed.
I mean, I remember when Espinal came over in 2018 in Double A. I think the main thing that with the Jays that I've noticed just from being in the farm system, since 2016 is that everyone knows their job and everyone knows, I think it's been a total team aspect more than individual. And that's why we had such success in Buffalo this year, because it was more of a team than individual, everyone picked each other up. And I think just to add to Espinal, I think that he knows exactly the player he is, and he knows what he needs to do to contribute to us winning. I think he's a great guy to have in the locker room for sure. And, just his play on the field, it kind of, feeds energy to other players. So.
That's a great point, because playing within yourself is absolutely necessary. And he, like Kirby just said, right? Like you can tell he knows his skills, his strengths, why he's there. And we're not going to see him up there in that 8-hole swinging for the fences, right? He knows what he's there to do. So, I'd be fine with giving Espinal a good shot.
And I think
if that's where we end up, right, Scott? If that's where we end up, we want Jose Ramirez around.
Oh yeah,
here.
Of course, bring J-Ram. I'm all for that.
Here.
Yeah,
we want Freddie Freeman around here. But if we end up with Espinal, we're fine.
I think that's one thing about this team is with the batting order that we have built. this team is allowed to have a few holes. And I'm not saying Espinal as a whole. I just mean relative to some of the superstars that we have on this team, relatively speaking. A bit of a hole. I do think this team is primed to take a massive step forward in terms of wins. We mentioned the starting rotation with Ryu going from being our ace going into last season into the maybe 3, 4, or even 5th spot now. And I think one more thing that really shouldn't be underestimated is our bullpen. Was pretty scary at times early last season. I know
in a bad way, scary in a bad way in April,
in a bad way. Yes. Nah, not scary in a dominant way. We had a lot
those
of
guys are
question
gone.
marks. What's that, Karen?
Those guys are gone.
Yeah, those guys are gone. But when they were replaced with, the likes of Kirby Sneed and, some of our AAA guys who stepped up in a big way, there were a lot of question marks, and we weren't sure really what to expect. But I think that, Kirby, hats off to you. You guys really, put our minds at ease, really helped us shore up the bullpen. Obviously, we had a couple acquisitions via trade. But I think, guys like Kirby and Taylor and some of the other ones are just going to take another big step forward as well. So I'm really looking forward to this season.
Tim Meza stepped up too, like just dominant as a lefty. So impressive to watch him recoup from Tommy John surgery, miss that 2020 season. Like, just even when we had him on the show and he was going on about the hardest thing that he's had to deal with his entire career was that rehab stint from his Tommy John, especially when all of a sudden the season shuts down and COVID's going on and he's got to do it all on his own, and he just felt so separated from the team. So it was just really heartwarming and very cool to watch him succeed. And then just obviously the Jays needed that dominant lefty so badly, so it was a real win for everybody.
Absolutely.
Can I ask Kirby a question about that while we're on the bullpen subject here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kirby, there are bigger names in the Blue Jay bullpen that had issues, went down, et cetera, last season. But, man, I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I thought, not the death blow, but what really got me is the TV commercial came back, and it was about to be, came back from commercial. Jays are at Tampa, and David Phelps is being walked off the mound, and my heart just sunk. This is a guy I don't hear a lot of love for, Kirby, but I feel like he's so versatile. You can throw him 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th inning, you name it. Can you talk to us about David Phelps and the loss of a versatile arm like that in that bullpen?
Yeah, I just know him from spring trainings that we've had. I haven't really been in the same bullpen as him, but one thing I'll say about him that just from my experience is he, just like you said, you can throw him in any situation, and I think he can handle it. His experience and his knowledge for just not only the game, but the way he throws and the way he attacks hitters, I think is very versatile for sure. And, just to speak on Meza, a little side note, I think, with all the guys that didn't really get to play in 2020, I think he was part of that group that just really motivated himself to come back and have a great year, through all the ups and downs that he's had. Meza's helped me a lot just from when I got up there too. So, I've known Meza for 3 or 4 years now. So, but yeah, I mean, he deserves everything he gets, because he's surely been through it, and hopefully he has much more success.
Great that David Phelps re-signed with the organization again, and fingers crossed that he bounces back from surgery, and because that could be a real boost for the pen if he can get back to being healthy and pitching the way he's capable of. So
absolutely. All right, let's move on to our first major topic of the day, as we're approaching the 30-minute mark already. ESPN this week released their list of 100, or their top 100 baseball players of all time. Barry Bonds, believe it or not, made the list. Despite the snub from the Hall of Fame, he is listed at number 8 on this list of all-time baseball players. Mm-hmm. Joel, do you have a chance to look at that list?
Yeah, it's right in front of me
right now. Catch you off guard here?
I'm just getting a taste of it right now.
You know what? I'll jump in real quick here, and then Joel will go right back to you. I did wish to bring up how incredibly difficult this task must have been, because when you start trying to compile a list of the top 100 ball players, you're going from so many different eras. I mean, you look at the top 5, and I'm not even against the top 5. You know, like it's Babe Ruth, Cobb.
I'll run down the
Mantle.
top 5 right now here, Scott. So number 5, Ted Williams. Number 4, Ty Cobb. Number 3, Hank Aaron. Number 2, Willie Mays. And number 1, Babe Ruth.
Like the only guy that we've seen play in the top 10 is Bonds. Like the only, for most of us, that's the only one we've ever seen alive. Like play. The rest of them predate our existence. So, you know,
and that's kind of where I was going, because honestly, and I could just be out to lunch. I'm totally fine with this. Could be a take that is completely wrong. However, I think if you take Vladdy Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., Juan Soto, Mike Trout, and Mookie Betts as they are right now, the athletes as they are right now, with all of the sports science and medicine and training and all the knowledge on the nutrition and stuff like that, and you put them, just take them and time machine them to the eras where this top 5 is playing, they're all better than them. Now, which is completely unfair to say, because also if you were to give guys like Ruth and stuff like that the same sort of leg up, you know, if they knew the same thing about nutrition and training and stuff like that. But personally, I think athletes are just so elite these days and know so much about their bodies in comparison to a guy like Babe Ruth, who was literally like going and eating hot dogs midway through the games, you know, smoking stogies. Like, I have a tough time believing that he is the best baseball player of all time. I don't know. Step in and save me here, guys.
No, we're just going to linger on that for a minute.
Well, one thing, I've got my Baseball Hall of Fame program here. You guys are saying bury something in the number 8 spot. I'm not seeing that bury something. I'll have to look that up.
Well, one of the interesting arguments to make would be, you take all of those players and you send them back to 1910. And they'd only play 5 games because the game was so much physically tougher back then. Like, it's physically better athletically now, but like sliding into shortstop, like you're going to have Ty Cobb coming in with his cleats 3 feet off the ground, slicing you open, right? Like, you're going to take the inside. They're allowed to throw the ball inside back.
No batting helmets.
No batting helmets. Like, granted, the athleticism is to another level, but all you can ever do is play against your peers, right?
Yeah.
All you can ever do is play against the people from your time. And so, and baseball is the one sport where we do value those names that we have no connection to with, visually watching or experiencing their triumphs or anything. But, we sit and we talk about Babe Ruth and Ohtani 100 years apart all season long. Because we value it that much. So, don't get me wrong. The athletes nowadays are superhuman, and Babe Ruth is, but then again, he could hit 500-foot home runs. So,
yeah.
The most interesting part of this little piece that ESPN did, in my opinion, is they did list on one of the pages here which current stars are destined to join this list.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so let's flash forward 20 years. This list comes out again. Which players playing today are going to crack the top 100 of all time? There's about 10 players listed on this list, and 2 of them are Blue Jays. Can you guess which 2?
Bichette and Vladdy.
Yes. Yes. So the players on this list for current era, currently playing ball players include Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna Jr., Vladdy Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., Corbin Burns, Walker Buehler,
really?
Will Smith, Yordan Alvarez, Corey Seager, Carlos Correa, and Bo Bichette. So,
no Jacob DeGrom.
Interesting.
Yeah, no DeGrom on that list.
Yeah, wow.
Good point.
Good catch, Karen. But
Nub!
I think. Yes, absolutely. I don't know. That just gives me goosebumps again, though, that like Bo and Vlad panned out the way they did, and like as Blue Jays fans, how spoiled we're going to be for the next, hopefully more than 5 years. But
Agreed. Knock on wood. Hopefully
knock
more.
on wood.
We're seeing that same kind of like, Duke Snyder, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, that like big chunk of superstars that all came up at the same time. You're seeing, and like you've got Juan Soto, who's like Ted Williams, and you've got like these reincarnations of these past like amazing stars in this new version of them. And yeah, so yeah, I don't think I've seen personally a sub 26 group
Right.
the way that I've seen that. Like this is the best sub 26 group I've ever seen in my lifetime. So that's great for baseball.
It
thing
is
that
great
stood
for
out to me
baseball.
was all the and Scott's. I'm just right on the money. I'm right there with you, Scott. It's so subjective. I mean, my gosh, how do you really even dive in and critique these
Impossible
things?
list,
But
for sure.
all of the attention that I saw towards Derek Jeter, I just don't understand why he's so polarizing. Guys, we're we're Blue Jay fans, I should say here. Can we all just be real honest about the scenario? Growing up watching the Jays play the Yankees, or maybe the Jays were battling the Yankees in the pennant, so you were watching the Yankee game. We needed the Yankees to lose. There was never one moment in any of our lives ever where we saw the lineup card and said, yes, those idiot Yankees are leading off Jeter, playing him shortstop again. Yes. Yeah. No.
That's a great point.
I wish we can move on from that conversation. He was incredible. He was incredible.
No,
He's hated. There's not that, like, that's the
No
thing.
doubt
You're
about
a
it.
Yankee and you
No
win
doubt
and you
about
win
it.
and you win, right? It's just.
A-Rod is hated. Barry Bonds is hated. But my gosh, how about some flowers for what they did between the lines and in the 9-inning games?
I think Jeter's 20 to 35 is the core of that Yankees success. Every year he's batting 310. Every year he's getting 200 hits. And we nowadays we can insult the past players who didn't play in a shift, who aren't shifted by a computer to where the ball is going to go. He's playing straight up shortstop his entire career. Some of the greatest defensive plays of all time belong to that man. His play on Jeremy Giambi, where he's coming down, he comes down the line to intercept the play to the flip to Posada. That's one of the greatest plays of all time. His diving plays into the stands, some of the greatest defensive plays of all time. And I know.
Well, if you listen to Red Sox fans, his defensive metrics are terrible. He's not even a Hall of Famer.
I'll pose the same question to the Red Sox fans, Scott. So there was a time in your life where you thought, yes, those sucker Yankees are playing that bum Jeter again. Yes. I really doubt it. I doubt it
as well.
And
Absolutely.
out of all the shortstops out there right now, the one who reminds me of Derek Jeter the most is Bichette. He's the guy who can go out there and lead the league in hits. He's the guy who's got he's got speed, he's got all of it, and we get on his case for his defensive ability. I'm never going to get on his case for ripping 840 OPS, batting 290, leading the league in runs. Like that's what gets you World Series. Because when he gets to the postseason, his batting average isn't going to go to 200.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He's going to hit 295 in the regular season. He's going to hit 295 in the postseason. I see the same type
And the truth is, all his detractors defensively never bring up August, where he had one error. Like, they never bring up September, where he was just, like, solid as they come. Like,
I just don't see it. I see an amazing.
He improved a lot.
He did. And it's a hard position. Like,
people often forget how young he is still, too. So.
Yeah.
What is he?
No, that means
22
I've seen him at low A and high A, and his defense is 10 times better than it was there. So.
Oh, he's incredible. He's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And I always felt, and maybe this is just me having a theory, but I always felt that bringing in Marcus Semien was, at least in part, to have an on-field defensive coach for Bo Bichette and help him improve, because Semien himself, earlier in his career, wasn't a great defender, and he did a lot, whether it was coaching or whatever, to improve himself. So maybe they thought he could help Bichette, and maybe that's why a big part of the reason why Bichette improved in the last couple months.
Yeah. I would say
it's a great point, Karen. It's a great point, because Marcus Semien really did struggle defensively, and now he's constantly needing to add hooks to the wall for his Gold Gloves. So, if that's the trajectory of Bo Bichette, I'm all for it.
Yeah, you're willing to wait 4 years for his first Golden Glove, Scott?
I think he's gonna do it before that, but
all right,
I'm a homer. So
well, 2022 will be his fourth season in MLB, so
And
I'll
just
take
his
it.
second full season, so let's keep that in mind as well. All right, let's move on to the next topic. But before we do, Mark, do we have anything from YouTube?
I got a question here. The question is, how's Kirby's flow?
So it was pretty long. I let it grow through Christmas, and then I cut it right as the New Year. So it's I would say it's about right here to my shoulder. It was pretty low.
You're not going to
But
take the hat off for us, though.
No.
No, he's ponied.
too much work these days putting it up and down. So
Fair enough. All right.
But
Well,
no, I'm definitely gonna let it grow the whole season. So it'll be right back to where it was.
That's great.
Now, Mark, surely there's a follow-up question about our flow as well. Surely.
Yes.
Greg, how's your flow?
Outstanding. Thank you, sir. Outstanding. Thank you, sir. And I, unlike Kirby, will not be growing it out during the season. So,
All right. Thanks. For
I'm with
that,
you, Greg. I'm with you.
All right. So let's pivot here a little bit to the world of video games. MLB The Show 22 comes out April 5th, and they've announced their cover athlete for this edition, Shohei Ohtani. I don't think there's a more deserved player than that this year. Joel, I know you're
The guy with 30 first place MVP votes.
Yeah, that guy. You've heard of him, right?
That's weird.
I know. Joel, I know you play MLB The Show, so what are your initial thoughts on this?
Oh, I'm happy. Like some of the internal game design is actually around his two-way player type. So it's like they literally brought that into the game, I believe, in 20 to be able to, so you could have a pitcher who hits and vice versa. And then I think you were even able to, like, do you want to be more of a hitter or do you want to be more of a pitcher? Like you can even find a spectrum of where you want to play as the Ohtani type, you know?
Before, all we had was Zach Greinke.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I love playing with Greinke, who's got like a 40 overall for hitting. And it's like, oh, yeah, my pitcher's going to rake today. Man.
Yeah. Personally, like the thing that I'm always waiting for is the time where they like because I play NHL, I play sports games, and like the great thing about NHL is you get a group of guys together and you go play, 5-on-5 with a goalie, and you're all in a party chat, and you're, somebody screws up, whatever. We're a big group of guys together. You can't do that in baseball. Like the failure of baseball is like so much of the game is failing, right? So you go and you play that game, but you're playing every at bat. And I sit there and I watch people like, they go 0 for 5 and they're quitting, because they can't handle that rapid fire failure that is, every single hitter. And if they can ever make it so it's like 2-on-2, 3-on-3, so you just get that time to like, all right, I'm out, your turn. And somebody comes else up to the plate and they just take the pressure off that, consecutive failure that is sometimes the game of baseball. And you're just able to be in there with a group of people because it is the ultimate team game, but you play it one-on-one in the video game form. And I just, until they take it so I can hang out with like 5 of my friends and I can just sit in the bullpen and just not pitch for like 4 days. Like
I was just gonna say, let me get clarification on that because I play MLB The Show too, but I don't do much for online gaming. Are you saying that there's no like multiplayer? It's 1 versus 1 online. You can't get 9 guys controlling one team and 9 guys controlling another.
No, you can't. You can't. I don't think you can't even really get 2-on-2. I don't even think there's a way to get 2-on-2. I
realize that 9 versus 9 would be a niche market. I'm sure there's not a lot of guys and gals who are willing to just watch their 8 friends take one swing. But from a technical standpoint, it can't be that hard, right?
Well, just like I don't even know if it needs to be done by the show. Like the show, if they want to stick with what they do, why can't like some other? You used to have like MLB like hits and trying to remember the name of like Slugfest, the other kind of arcadey version that they had, but just a video game where you go and you make your custom character. I don't even care if it's affiliated with MLB, but just has good hitting mechanics, and we can just go sit down and be a baseball team. You go to a sandlot and you join a drop-in game where 8 other people are just waiting to play baseball, and you sit there. I'll play second base, just like a sandlot style baseball game, right? I feel for that.
I used to play EA Sports used to have this part of their studio was EA Big, and they would do these like street games. I think they did them for soccer, basketball, and football. And NFL Street on like the Nintendo GameCube was, I don't know how many days I wasted when I should have been doing homework, but
None. That doesn't sound like waste of time at all.
Thanks, Greg. Anyways, those games hold up, man. From like an arcade standpoint, I actually during the pandemic, I found some free time on my hands, and I actually went through and I made a current roster update with all the NFL players in NFL Street. I wish there was a way I could share that like roster that I built so I could play with other people, but no, I would love something similar to that for baseball. But
Well, I heard the CBA negotiation mode of MLB 2 is pretty sick, so I'm looking forward to that.
yeah, a lot of menus in anything one, hey?
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, they're all grayed out. You can't access any of them, unfortunately.
Grayed
It's a
out.
bit
Yeah,
sticky.
is anything actually happening?
Yeah, it's a bit sticky.
All right. Well, the last MLB The Show cover athlete for the Toronto Blue Jays was Josh Donaldson in 2016. We have I guess in the history of the franchise, we've never had more than one player from the same franchise, so no repeats. But if there was to be a repeat, who's getting the cover for the Blue Jays first, Bo or Vladdy?
Vlad.
Slim Daddy.
Yeah, I'll go Vlad too. Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's got all the charisma. Bo's more like Bo reminds me of Mike Trout. You know, like he's just amazing.
With way better hair. With
way better hair. But just a little bit more business. And Vladdy's got that Fernando Tatis personality. So
Yeah.
Let me put this on here right now on the Walkoff Long Toss episode 2 ever as the prediction. Alek Manoah wins the hearts, as he has of Canadians, of Major League Baseball fans, and next year's cover is a amalgamation of Alek Manoah pitching to Slim Daddy Vladdy. We've got that.
Whoa.
That's an official prediction. That's an outside the box prediction. We've got it on tape right now. Manoah's a dark horse, guys. He's gonna capture the hearts of baseball fans like he has of our fans. He's got the personality, he's got the skill, and he's just getting started.
And baseball loves a workhorse, and that man just screams workhorse on the mound. Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Every day Manoah walks in the locker room, everyone stops what they're doing to see what he's got to say, what he's doing. So he's a
Does
man.
he have that presence in the clubhouse already?
Yeah. No, he just he's the same guy every day. He all he wants to do is go out and compete at everything he does, and he's very charismatic. So I mean he's the man. He's going to be doing it for years to come. So
here's two questions for you, Kirby. We saw a lot of Alek Manoah and Ryu. Seemingly, their bond really grew over the course of last season.
A bromance forming. If
A
you will.
bromance formed, right? It just gets me wondering, like, what the obviously such a diverse clubhouse. Everybody comes from different backgrounds and languages. What is the language barrier like in the Blue Jays clubhouse? And how does everybody kind of figure out a way to communicate?
yeah, so I think that core that we have, with Bo and Vlad, and even in 2019, Teoscar had come down for a little bit, and guys like that had come down to kind of work on their craft, and just being around those guys, I think just the way that they carry themselves and the way that they interact with everyone. I think that the language barrier obviously is there, but it's nothing like everyone says hello to each other every day. It's not like everyone's on their own. So
You all talk
think-
baseball.
yeah, and I think everything is better with time. The more time you're with guys, the more you see how they carry themselves and things that they're into, and I think when you start to learn more about your teammates, that's when the game actually gets fun, because you realize that you're all in it together. And I think the main thing that I've noticed just from being up there, like everyone has their own, everyone's doing it for themselves, obviously, but at the same time, it's a team effort, and everyone has their their way of expressing themselves. And I think that, when you can accept that, I think that's when teams can be really good.
Isn't that so cool when you hear Kirby describe it that way, guys? I'm left here saying Kirby just described a language difference. He didn't describe a language barrier. A language barrier to me has different connotations. It might be an issue. I may avoid trying to communicate with that person. That's not what Kirby just described there. We talk about that, right? The culture of this clubhouse, man, the culture of this organization. It's one of the top things Shapiro and Atkins have done. I don't care about any rankings. Spoiler for the next subject. It's one of the top things Shapiro and Atkins have done.
Well, I was going to say that those, when you look at Bichette and Biggio and Guerrero being born into baseball and being like it's a family thing, and especially with Dante becoming a part of the team, and literally family is being brought in to bolster the team. And like, I think about Teoscar and how he took a step last year from, I would assume his connection probably a lot to Dante coming in, and how Teoscar's approach at the plate got so much more focused, and how his swing kind of got like totally turned around, and just how a family environment it is. Whenever I see that team, whenever they cut to the team in the dugout, you just see them like everybody's arms are wrapped around each other, and they're hugging on each other, and they're sitting in weird, funny positions and enjoying every pause in the game as much as any home runs. So yeah,
even the bullpen was fun to watch, and I'm sure Kirby, you can speak on this, but like, there's so many different characters, and everyone's just so supportive, and like watching Romano just up and pacing in the second inning, and like, it just seems like a fun bunch of guys.
Yeah. No, it's definitely
squatting behind him, and
that was funny.
Yeah. It's easy too when you have guys like Bo and Vlad, and obviously we had Simeon last year. You know what they're going to bring to the table every day, so kind of helps you enhance and want to step up your game. And to add to Romano, I've seen him go from a starter to reliever to what he's doing now, and it's just the way that he's always just stuck with it. Whatever he's needed to work on or what he's needed to bring to. And now, he's all he's the man. So, he's the guy out of the pen right now. So, it's just cool to see how much everyone is kind of just figured out what their job is, and they're just going to go do it. There's really nothing much else to it.
Kind of crazy how much this team has sort of grown up together, eh, Kirby? Like, you have brought this up a few times of, like we were in A together, we were in AA together. Like, guys have just there's like this core of dudes who literally have watched each other succeed throughout the ranks, and now it's time for the next step. It's very cool.
Definitely.
Win a championship with the Fisher Cats too. So.
Yeah, that Fisher Cats team in 2018 was unreal. So, and they're all doing it now. So it's good to see.
Very cool. Anyone have anything else to add here before we move on to the next thing?
I just thought it was awesome when Joel was pointing out, taking our mind's eye back to the camaraderie in the clubhouse, people hugging and everybody. And earlier we had Kirby Snead talking about how awesome Manoah is. Well, take your mind's eye back. One of those players hugging all the other players is Alek Manoah. And it's game day for him, for crying out loud. Like, other pitchers are way, you don't even look in their direction by accident. Alek Manoah is that guy. So it just reminded me of that. I loved when Joel was explaining that.
Very cool. All right. Before I move on to the next one here about the NFL coaches being paid to lose games, Mark, you had one more comment there from YouTube about the cover athletes for MLB The Show?
Yeah, it was just a reminder. I don't know if you guys remember, but that Canada used to have its own cover of the show. It used to be like a Blue Jay player just for us. I don't know if they still do that or how that will affect anything.
I don't think they do. I remember there was one with Brett Laurie, of all people. Pretty cool, though. But I don't know if that was also because he was a Canadian kind of a star playing for the Blue Jays, too. Might have been a factor in that. But, yeah, very cool. All right, so let's transition now to the NFL. I know this is still kind of relevant here, but Brian Flores, let go by the Dolphins this year, has a class action lawsuit against the NFL for racial discrimination, and he says in part of this lawsuit that he was actually paid bonuses to lose games. Obviously not a good look for the NFL. Anybody else familiar with this story? Or are you mostly following the baseball? I know there's a lot of news to keep up with the lockout, but anybody else?
Well, some sucker on here is a huge lifelong Miami Dolphin fan.
Right. So, Craig, you might be familiar with this then.
Oh, it's me. Oh, crap. Yeah, no.
Can you imagine just being one of the coaches that's just taking loss after loss and not getting paid? You're like, come on.
That's a great point, Scott. Out here doing it for free like a sucker. Okay, so a little bit of context here in the NFL. They do have something called the Rooney Rule, and it's basically a requirement that all NFL teams, when they're about to fill a coaching vacancy, they have to interview a person of color for the role. And a lot of, I guess, criticism has come their way that it's kind of a bullshit gesture, and that none of these interviews are really even being taken seriously. I know a few executives have kind of come under fire this year for showing up to interviews with some potential black coaches and not really taking it seriously, not even being really dressed for a proper interview and stuff like this. But it is a requirement before they're able to hire the white coach that they want to hire. I don't even know where to begin to fix this, but...
Well, and that's what's in play here, Adam. That's exactly what they're trying to accomplish here. That the Rooney Rule was born because Johnny Cochran, the late Johnny Cochran, went to NFL and said, we are completely disgruntled with your hiring policies. Mm-hmm. We absolutely will be filing this class action lawsuit. I can't be clear enough with you that you do not want us doing that. The PR, like you name it, I can't be clearer to you. You don't want any part of this. So they've threatened to change the venue from the NFL owners, keeping this in-house. They've threatened to change the venue to the courts. Now they got action. That's exactly what Brian Flores and that team is looking to do right now. They're looking to change the venue to heat up, to light the match under the feet of the NFL owners. There's zero doubt that there is an issue here, and there's zero doubt that I don't have the answer for it. The only thing I've been able to think of is I would like to see maybe some sort of incentive. First of all, we need some minority ownership. I mean, that is one thing that has to happen. Now, as far as I would like to see teams incentivized for having their assistant coaches promoted to head coaches. Because right now, if the NFL said right now, we need to get people of color in coaching spots right now. I mean, what experience out there we need to see, I think, a raising up of the coordinators that are just pounding on the door to be the next head coaches. And now those teams that have born and bred those coaches and raised them up to that position, they lose those teams. So how about like a draft pick scenario? Like in baseball, you have the compensation picks, something along those lines. So I'd like to see a scenario in place where the hiring, the promoting of coordinators is really focused on. But just no doubt about it, the ownership is a definite issue, guy. There is zero minority. The ownership's an issue.
I was talking with my brother about this just before we went live here too, and he brought up a great point. Like, not to just defend privileged white men in positions of power, but like if you were to be hired as the GM of a National Football League team, that's not an opportunity you get all the time, right? So if you are going into that job, you probably already have a pretty good idea in mind of someone that you've either worked with at the college level or at other venues, right? Where it's like, no, this is my guy, and I trust him or her to help us win. And you have to be sympathetic to a new GM coming into a team where his career's on the line too. So the idea of hiring someone in accordance with the Rooney Rule or whatever that's got to be a scary proposition for anybody who's like, well, if I hire a black coach that I'm not familiar with because there's outside pressure on it, it's like, if this doesn't work out, I might never get another chance to be a GM, right? So,
Adam, I would say to your brother that's part of their point. Part of their point is, yes, people come into this job with their arms around people that they know have done it before, but that's because those white people have had the opportunity to do it before. That's the whole cycle.
Yeah,
and you're absolutely right. Like there does need to be more like bridging opportunities, and I think that's where I think the solution really may lie is in a little bit of patience, rather than, forcing things to the forefront and, we get immediate results. But like, let's turn our eyes to the MLB and some of the great hirings that have happened with women across the Major League Baseball and through affiliate baseball this year. I'm going to sound like an asshole here when I can't remember the woman that was just hired to coach in single A with the Yankees. Yes, yeah. Thank you. But like I think that's a great example of an opportunity where someone is given the proper opportunity to then be brought along into an experienced role. But I really, when I brought this topic up, it was not supposed to get into any sort of a race or gender issue. The issue that I wanted to touch on was the idea of losing games for money. Obviously, the MLBPA is concerned with the idea of teams tanking, which is why they want to implement a draft lottery for teams who miss the playoffs.
Are you saying, Adam, that 15 of 30 teams being under 500 is a problem? Just half the MLB teams
not according
last
to
year
the owners.
were just bad.
Yeah,
not according to the owners.
Well, okay, so we've kind of briefly talked about this in the past, but there is an incentive to expanded playoffs that encourages mediocre teams to get good. And I personally don't understand the idea that the MLBPA is so against the idea of expanded playoffs because, well, it'll promote mediocrity and any team like the Braves can just kind of, stumble their way into the playoffs and then anything can happen. So teams won't want to even try and spend money. Like, I don't get that. Does anybody else struggle to see like the backwards logic of that? Because all I see is an opportunity for teams who may have no chance in let's say a division like the AL East, where currently 2, maybe 3 teams are coming out of that division. So if you're going into the season looking at maybe I'm an 85 win team, what is the actual point in spending money to try and win 88 games when the Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Rays are all going to win 90 games? Like, what motivation is it for the Orioles to really spend any money right now?
There isn't one, which is why I think it's why I think a salary floor would be fantastic for the league across the board. I think there's a lot of things. Tanking is a problem. Like, it's not fun to watch a lot of these games. Like, don't get me wrong. When it was the Jays-Rays series, so exciting, right? Sure, to sit down and watch, let's say, the Brewers and the Giants go at it or whatever. Yeah, that's great. But who wishes to watch the Orioles and the Royals? And I'm not picking on any teams here. It's just like, that's the truth of it, right? There's some really bad teams. And if there's a way to raise that up a little bit, I get what you're saying, Adam.
I get it. Yeah.
And I don't want to be this old man again who's just like, no, baseball should not have it's all about playing 162 games and the best teams rise to the top. And then, because I do believe baseball playoffs are the best and most fun playoffs out there. And I think it's because the cream of the crop has risen up. But I mean, obviously there's a problem that needs to be fixed here because it just sucks to be a fan of the game and half the teams be this bad.
Karen, you look like you have something to add.
Yeah, no, I mean, with the CBA negotiations ongoing, and naturally a lot of baseball fans have their own opinions. And one thing that has occurred to me is with revenue sharing and money going towards small market teams, I think that they should only get that money if their team payroll is above a certain amount. So because I don't think revenue sharing should be lining the pockets of owners of small market teams. That's not what it was meant for. So like, show me some signed contracts with players and then you can have your revenue sharing money.
I love that idea.
Point. I remember like it was yesterday. Here I go aging myself again, but I remember like it was yesterday listening to the Fan 590. Jim Leyritz, remember Jim Leyritz? I think his nickname was the King, New York Yankee. He was there, the New York Yankee player representative, and this was when the luxury tax whole idea came in, and George Steinbrenner was fire and brimstone against it, and he was on the Fan 590, and he said, listen, everyone thinks literally Mr. Steinbrenner, that's what everyone calls. Everyone thinks Mr. Steinbrenner's against this because he's somehow cheap. He wants to keep them. No. He's against this because he knows at the end of the year, the revenue sharing, he needs to cut a check to Milwaukee's owner for $3.4 million. He's golfing buddies with the Milwaukee owner. He knows that check is going in his pocket. It is not being reinvested into the team. He's putting it towards his bottom line. So is the Oakland owner, so is this owner, so is this owner, so is this owner. So Karen's right on the money there. The way that this revenue sharing system is currently set up, it's under the guise and the umbrella to increase the competitive balance. Nobody uses it that way. They all use it to line and improve their own bottom lines, especially in this day and age when owners aren't making the money they used to make from the revenue streams from the businesses that they made all their money from, because COVID has ravaged all these businesses. So it's even more incumbent on the owners to try to make turn a profit, make their bottom line look better. So Karen's right on the money. This is not being used the way it's intended. The spirit of the revenue sharing, not even close.
And I mean, we saw it, what was it, last year? Maybe it was 2 years ago, where Cleveland came out and their book showed that a lot of this revenue sharing money that they had went into stadium renovations and stuff. And it's like, where, why isn't revenue sharing supposed to be evening the playing field for players? Like,
the Orioles are doing that right now, Scott. Orioles are doing that as we speak in left field.
You know what? Let's just get into a big, broad discussion of the MLB lockout then, since we're basically on the topic right now. We're going to save that for a bit later. Scott, I know you had some points about finances and
okay, I did wish
salaries
to bring this up. Yeah, no, perfect, because it gets frustrating sometimes. There's this rhetoric, and it's funny. It's a generation gap. I feel like it's the older baseball viewers that feel it's billionaires versus millionaires. But I just saw this the other day, and I'll just share it here. So of the 1,453 players to accrue at least 1 day of service time last season, so 590, 40.6% made less than $1 million in career earnings, right? So according to the MLBPA's breakdown, the median career earnings of that group is like $350,000. This isn't necessarily billionaires versus millionaires, right? Like, yeah, there's the George Springers of the world, and I don't think any of us begrudge him getting paid after the career he has had. But, like, to just put this blanket statement of, oh, it's just the rich fighting the rich, that is not the case at all. And plus, nobody talks about how much these players are putting their bodies on the line, right? Like, there's pitchers that after they're done their career, they just are one-armed, like, I know that's a little drastic, but like, they're screwed. Like, you can't, they're dealing with pain, and this is just throughout the sport. So to just like have this blanket statement that it's millionaires versus billionaires gets pretty frustrating. And you just constantly see the owners putting the wedge in there with the fan base and trying to create this descent upon the players. And
Scott, how did George Springer turn into multi-millions? Because the last CBA, the multimillionaires stood up for that group. I mean, it's got to be a continuous thing like that. And by the way, now you say 350,000 US, that is millionaires if we're converting it to Canada. But we can move on. We don't have to dive into that. But yeah, no, absolutely. That's a big thing. It's a great point, Scott. I find a lot of people, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? This player's not making enough. This player's not making enough. Well, to be honest, they probably are, but it was previous guys that fought for them that allowed for that scenario. They feel beholden right now to do the same thing.
This is a wild stat too. So listen to this. The median salary of $1.15 million was down 30%.
Absolutely.
From 2015.
Yes. The players got killed in this collective bargaining agreement. The players got killed over these last 5 years. Their average salary decrease. You're exactly correct. And part of it is because guys like Slim Daddy Vladdy, I mean, the Tatis early re-up, that was rare. That's part of the player's point, is we have superstars right now. Somebody said earlier, Joel was saying, wow, the young players in this league right now, it is through the roof. Yes, by the current rules, these teams can sit on these players for 7 years, or up to 7 years at the money that Scott just mentioned, while they're bringing in all the money. There's that imbalance going back to what Karen was talking about. Absolutely, yes. We can see why there's a work stoppage. The finances are out of whack right now.
So, Kirby, you can tell we're on the owner's side.
I mean, growing up as a hockey fan and the way that the NHL has their salary cap tied to revenue, like, I just don't understand how a pro sports league could have anything other, like, short of that. Like, whatever percentage of earnings you think is fair, but
yeah. One interesting thing that I heard this week was that, NHL, and I can't remember what other sport it is, but even guys on rookie contracts get incentives for, playing well or, making all-star game, or if their team makes playoffs. I mean, obviously there's playoff shares, but
right.
I think that's a good thing for, look at, Vlad, and I have a good friend that I played with in college, Pete Alonso, that's still on his rookie contract. So, and look what he's done, rookie of the year and 2, home run derbies. And so
key record for home runs in the season.
Yeah. So I think if there's any way that they can just compensate guys who are doing well that are still on rookie contracts, I think that's one thing that I agree with. There's so many things that are out of our control, especially me. I only have 7 appearances in the MLB, so I can't really, advocate for a bunch of people. So it's, yeah.
Well, I mean, the truth is the players, in my opinion, aren't asking for that much, right? Like, they want the minimum salary raised, and it'll barely move the needle.
Yeah.
They want the luxury tax to not be a de facto salary cap.
Maybe this is the. Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to end with. No, I was just going to end with they want teams to try and win, right? Like, they want teams to field the best players. And I think that is a problem. Like, even if you look at the Baltimore Orioles, right? Why would they bring up their top prospects right now and help move the floor of that team up when they can just leave them down another year, mess with the
service time.
Thank you, Adam. Their service time. And also compile more high-end draft picks. Like, there's no incentive for them to try to put their best players on the field.
Right now, the scenario is I draft Scott Belford. I love Scott Belford. I take him in the first round. I get that cheap labor for 5, 6, 7 years. Now Scott's, by rule, has earned that free agency, that big payday. I trade him, or I should say, I give him that qualifying offer, I should say. He goes elsewhere. I get that compensation draft pick, and I start the whole darn thing over again. And the players are saying this is happening time and time again.
Maybe the problem is they're not asking enough going into the start of a negotiation, right? Like, it does feel like even if the players got everything they want, like if the players got absolutely every single concession that they're asking for, like on all the major topics, I still feel like they'd have the most fucked over agreement of all the major sports teams. Right? Like, they're so far behind all the other major sports leagues. I don't know. Am I way off base in thinking that?
So Kirby, maybe don't call Adam, or maybe don't text Adam if you have a question about the upcoming CBA. Maybe.
I mean, the only edge that the MLB has over the NFL maybe has it worse in that they have like 0 guaranteed contracts.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a pretty rough one. I'll acknowledge that.
Karen, what do you think?
I've heard somewhere, and I don't even remember the source, but the other 3 major North American pro sports leagues, being the NFL, the NHL, and the NBA, have all achieved something fairly close to a 50-50 revenue split between the owners and the players overall. Major League Baseball, with the way revenues have grown, is nowhere near that. I don't even remember what the number was, but it's so far off that. And I like the idea of the players getting more. I mean, the owners, it's a business. They invested money. They have to make money, which they are, in spite of what some of them would say. But I mean, it's the players that are out there, as you say, putting their bodies on the line. They're out there performing at a very high skill level. They're providing the entertainment for us. They're the ones that are playing 162 games, plus spring training, plus playoffs for those who are lucky enough to do that, plus pregame drills and all of that, and being separated from their families, some of them, some of the time. And they deserve a good share of that payday. So.
Karen, some of them even come on podcasts and put up with the likes of us. So yeah.
Well, that's it.
Yes. All right. Let's unless anybody has anything else to add, let's pivot to a little more fun topic here. Joel, you got something?
One little thing, yeah. Like the other thing that baseball is a sport where like players make it later than other sports. Like you'll see a 25-year-old, 27-year-old rookie. You'll see
great point.
Players make it later
like,
on.
Hello.
But because the sport is it's in the minors, a player can take 4 years to find that thing that makes them special in the majors. Okay. And Major League Baseball is dependent on stars and players making it to the major leagues and making fans. And a thing that isn't brought up much is how badly players are screwed out of signing bonuses coming out of college. You'll see, like I was looking at the draft this year, and you're seeing guys in the 3rd and 4th round who should be signing $1 million signing bonuses, getting 10 grand, to sign with the team, because if they don't sign, they have to go over to Japan, establish themselves somewhere else, and their only option is to accept that incredibly low signing bonus. And the thing is that we want to see stars, and if you're losing stars because of that, because they can't afford it, because they have to stop at 24, but at 27 they would have made it. What are we losing? Because that's the game. The game is getting young players to meet their potential. And if you're stifling it at such a young age, and how many players are not making it now? How many stars aren't making it because they're like, you know what, I can't just go through with this every single year. And so
I know this is a slightly different scenario, but even what happened with Kumar Rocker last year was really sketchy.
Wow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
It's not the place you want to be, like screwing over the next generation. Like that, not only are these players, but these are fans of the game, and their opinion of the game will be spread. It's so easy to spread your opinion among social media, right? So you get screwed over, and it's not just one person who's mad, it's the family and every person that they're attached to. So
especially at a time where one of the biggest problems with baseball is that they're currently losing their up and coming talent to other leagues, right? We are seeing guys that play baseball and play it very well taking the football route, are going towards a different sport, and this stuff doesn't help that at all.
No.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, Scott. I mean, think of all the top quarterbacks in the NFL right now, not to go back to football, but I mean, we see all these dual sport athletes in college, opting to go the NFL route and be a quarterback in the NFL instead of grind it out in the minor leagues as a shortstop, right? So I think that's a great point. All right. Anything else to add on that before we move on here to the All-Star competitions? All right, Mark, do you have anything from Discord we should get to? Let's go over to Discord.
Well, I got a couple questions in chat on the topic.
Sure, let's do that.
We got a comment about the Acuna contract versus the Tatis deal and what Vlad's going to get. Those kind of contracts potentially causing a major issue down the road. Thoughts on that?
Unless somebody has something really new on the subject, I do feel like we've kind of talked the Vladdy contract ad nauseum, but
yeah.
I don't know what else there is really to say on the matter at this point, but anybody have any
I don't think there's anyone in
that?
this chat that's not like, let's get it done. Right?
Let's give that man the money. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Let's go to Discord then, Mark.
Okay. I got a question for Kirby.
Sure.
Did you pick up any cool tips from John Axford while he was in Buffalo?
Oh man, yeah, he's the best. I think just he came in, middle of the season, and it was almost like he just, we picked some guy. I don't mean it like that, but we picked some guy off the street, and he just came into the bullpen, and he killed it. And I think the one thing that all of us took from him was that, hey, you guys make this game a lot harder than it really is. If you just go out there and do your job, more times than not, you're gonna have success. So I think just watching him, it was almost like he just got up off the couch and came into the game, and he was, in AAA, his first outing, he was 97, 98 as however old he was. And it's like, holy crap. So, yeah, we were with him for a month before he went over to the Brewers. But just those 4 weeks that we were with him, man, I just soaked up so much knowledge and just the way that he kind of brought, any topic that we had discussed in the bullpen, it could be from baseball to anything. He always had just like a little quirkiness to him to where it was like, man, like he's seen so much more than any of us down here. I think that we just need to just get as much information as we can out of him before next season. And obviously he left. So, yeah, he's an awesome guy though. And I wish him the best with whatever he does from here on out. So.
Awesome. Yeah, it sure was heartbreaking to see how that whole thing ended. For him to work his way all the way back to the major leagues and then first time on the mound. And that's where we were talking earlier about the CBA, right? It's like, you never know. Anyways.
All right. Mark, do you have another one from Discord?
Yeah. There's a question about the Jays. So last year, the Jays Pythagorean win total was 99.
Okay.
How do you guys feel about that? Like, was it bad luck? Do they need, what are the needs? We've already talked about the needs for future upgrades, but what's your take on that Pythagorean 99 win?
I honestly have no idea. What the fuck is a Pythagorean total?
It's basically, I think it has to do with the number of the run differential. Okay. And how many wins the average team would have with that run differential. So it says that the Jays, I don't understand it all.
I get it. Okay, I get it.
Right, Scott, you take this one. Yeah, this is.
Right. I think what Mark's saying is that with the amount of runs they scored, if you were to put that on another team, that they would have won 99 games.
On the average, a team with that run differential has 99 wins.
Right.
Seattle was the exact opposite, right? They were minus like 55, minus 60. But they were one game with us, right? They were behind us, so it's,
the joys of the AL East.
Yeah, I guess that sums it up best, hey Scott? Just it's a tough division, and we had so many big blowout wins that really, I think, partially inflated our win totals, and then all the close ones back in April and May, we seemed to just kind of like how many 6 innings of shutout ball from Robbie Ray did we end up losing 2-0? Like, right? Sure. Like, again, and I again, just to go back to like player development and growth, I think like that's going to be just a huge thing going into next season that, these young kids, so to speak, I just don't think are going to let as many of those close games turn into losses. So.
Yeah, we've proven we're able to win the big game, the offensive blowout game, but it's the 4-3 game that we can, we can honestly lose some of that run differential and be more consistent in 1-run games, and then,
Yeah. No.
Well, the thing the Pythagorean theory is not going to take into account is something we've touched on, and for me, it is the difference maker in 2021. It's the home games. Joel mentioned earlier, 25-11 when coming home. That's a .596 winning percentage. That would be number one in all of baseball from home teams. And this Blue Jay team last year lost 21 home games. They were 20-21 in home games away from Rogers Center. And I have to throw them in quotes, ladies and gentlemen, here, because there was a doubleheader in Anaheim, California, and game one, the Toronto Blue Jays were the home team. Pardon? Like, are you kidding me right now? If the Blue Jays went back home, so if those 21 home losses, you cannot tell me that if they played all those games at Rogers Center, at least one game would have gone in the Blue Jays' favor. Now the Jays are in the play-in game. You can't tell me 2 games at least wouldn't have gone in their favor. Now the Jays are in the playoffs. If I'm being totally honest and getting on my soapbox, you can't tell me that the Blue Jays don't compete. Scott said earlier, hey, it should be AL East or bust. You can't tell me that they're not right with the Tampa Rays if they play all of 2021 at the Rogers Center. And that's something that Pythagorean theory doesn't bring into account here. That was the difference for me.
And they were saying that Vladdy's only good because he hits in AAA stadiums. Remember
that?
Well, it was just so frustrating as a fan to watch that team play in Dunedin, and just every single time the fan base was cheering against them, every single game. Like it was just like it was maddening watching on television. I can't even fathom what it was like as a player.
It was brutal.
A lot of credit when Bobich. I never saw the Blue Jays do anything but carry themselves with class during all of that. And when Bichette wrote that heartfelt, "Hey, we're so glad to be home" letter, remember that, guys? That really that stunned me. I had no idea they were going through that because they never showed that. And I believe that was Charlie. I've got my hat off to Charlie Montoya on that. I thought he did an amazing job from a leadership standpoint. But that Bichette letter really laid it out that, man, this was heart wrenching for us, man. Holy crap!
Yeah.
All right, let's move on now to the NFL skills competition. Took place on Thursday, and the NHL skills competition took place on Friday as part of the two leagues' All-Star weekends. Did anybody get a chance to watch either event?
I watched the NHL skills, and it was so fun, so fun.
What's your favorite part of the NHL skills competition?
I think as over the top and as much as it was meant to, please the kids, I loved watching them do the target on the Bellagio fountain and then watching the targets light up when they hit it. Like, it was just so cool to watch these guys. And you know what? NHL is unlike the MLB and the NBA, where the players, you can just see them and they're right there. They're always in their helmets and they're full of equipment, and so there isn't quite that connection. And to see them in ball caps and just out there it was very, very cool. I really liked it.
I went to the skills competition in 2017, I think it was. It was at
for the NHL
Lightning.
Or the NFL?
NHL.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was amazing. I had a great time. Went to the All-Star game as well, so it was cool.
Yeah, very cool.
What was it for, the NHL? I missed that. NHL?
Yeah, NHL.
Yeah, NHL.
Oh, well, Kirby walked in with that mullet, with that flow. They sent him and said, "Sir, the ice is right there, sir. Right this way. We've got another one right here. Right this way, sir."
Yeah. The hockey flow.
So a couple events that they do at the skills competition here, at the NFL, or sorry, at the NHL. Scott mentioned that precision target shooting there over the fountain. I know they do the fancy shootout, breakaway, whatever. They do a fastest skater event. In the NFL, they've got precision passing. They've got I think this year they started implementing a fancy catch, kind of a slam dunk competition equivalent. They also started doing a 40-yard sprint to see, the fastest man in the NFL kind of thing. And then they also do a fun little dodgeball game, I think is a lot of fun too. So just a lot of creativity and a lot of emphasis on fun and really showing off the skills of these guys. And the MLB is, as much as we all love home run derbies, and I think,
which
as
we
Vlad
do.
Jr. fans, we all remember that one going head-to-head with Pete Alonso there a couple of years ago.
Who we now know Kirby Snead was secretly cheering for, by the way.
He's like, no, I wasn't.
Good catch, Greg. But let's just dive into the MLB. Obviously, the MLB does it in the middle of their season. Other than a home run derby, what events would you guys like to see added to the MLB All-Star Weekend?
You know what I saw, and some of you might have seen the exact same thing. It was a clip of Jackie Bradley Jr., and he was just talking with a couple of buddies behind home plate in warm-up. And obviously someone had challenged him to see if he could clear the center field wall. And so he takes a run at it, and before he hits home plate, he just fires it and literally Like, I was on my feet as I watch it go over. Like, I'm watching my phone, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, holy crap, I can't believe how far he threw that ball. So, like, a long toss might be a fun one to add.
Long,
I mean, if
long
injuries
toss,
aren't
I
a
like.
thing. Yeah.
Well, okay, and we can get into that too, and injury prevention and stuff as well later. But let's just get some more fun suggestions out for an MLB All Star Weekend. Joel,
You go fastest around the bases.
yeah,
Yes.
that's a no brainer, right?
Right.
Like absolutely fastest around the bases. That could even be like a relay event if you really wanted to, get
Sure.
4 guys out there or whatever. There's just so many options, right?
I mean, you're thinking about you don't want to like you could put a ball on a tee, do exit velo, like
Yeah.
the slap shot
Exit
competition.
velo's a good one.
You know,
If we're comparing it to the slap shot competition, I feel like hardest throw is another, sexy event to just see those triple digits on the radar gun, right? Like just take a 2-step, put
Yeah,
everything you got
outfielders
into
wanna-
it and see who can hit the highest possible freaking number on that radar gun. Karen, I
You
saw
know
you
one-
put your hand up there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about strike zone accuracy for pitchers as well. So like who can hit the target most consistently, who gets it right in the middle most consistently. Little like darts, but with a baseball.
No,
Very
that's super easy. And like these wouldn't be injury risks, would they?
Hardest throw.
Yeah,
Are we-
hardest throw, long toss. Yeah, they
You
would
think-
be injury brother.
Okay, but is it any higher than speed skating in the NHL at the All-Star Weekend? Like these guys just zip around. Like, I mean, at some point, a guy just has to be able to frickin' throw the ball, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being ridiculous here, but
Kirby, what are your thoughts? Like, is there that big of an injury?
I mean, you
Risk?
can get hurt. You can get hurt doing anything these days. Such weird injuries and stuff. So
that's true.
Walking stairs.
Well, okay. Well, here.
yes, stairs. Yeah.
What if, as a solution to that, the MLB did something similar to the NFL, and rather than having their All-Star game in the middle of the summer, or maybe they still have their All-Star weekend, but maybe as a lead-in going into the World Series to have a skills competition night on the off day before the World Series starts, right? And then you just have guys where it's like, hopefully the hardest throw doesn't lead to like a Tommy John injury, but if a guy ends up with like a busted finger or, strains his hamstring or whatever, at least he's got all season the next 6 months to kind of recover from running the bases too hard. But I'm sorry, the idea of a guy running the bases too hard and hurting himself, I roll my eyes at just a little bit.
I know that this would be a little bit more campy, but one thing that I really did enjoy about the NHL skills competition this year was the breakaway where they brought in Manon Rayon as the goaltender, and it was all show, right? Like they even, at one point, the guy he misses completely, and then all of a sudden he brings out a box and he puts on a magician cape and he does some stuff around the box, and then out of the box comes a kid dressed exactly like him and does the exact same move he just did, but this time scores. And it was just like fun and entertaining. So maybe something like a bunting competition where they get really goofy and like, have the best infielders in, and if you can just get on base, you move to the next round.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, the possibilities really are endless here, but it's just it's just too bad that all it is just home run derby and that's it, right? Like,
do you guys remember the like old school version of the home run derby where it was like 1-on-1 and it was like a half an hour TV show and it was like Willie Mays versus Mickey Mantle and they'd sit down with the like competitors? Do you guys ever remember that like old school home run derby?
not at all.
Well, see, like the thing that I would love for the home run derby is just find a way to put on the home run derby where you're gonna get the best guys, like because I want to see Judge and Stanton ripping 520 footers, right? I want the best home run derby every time. So I want that at a point in the year where the players aren't going to be like, I'm ruining my swing and I've got a home run swing now and I can't play baseball for the last second half. Like put it at a point like almost before the World Series, you've got the other 28 teams submit their best home run hitters and you have like an ultimate home run derby or something like that. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I think another hitting competition that would be fun to see is even just as like a who can spray the ball the best, right? Like have targets popping up at the edge of the infield, right? And it's like you got to hit one to the off field.
Like the 3-point where you're shooting all the way around.
Exactly, right? Lots of options. So, all right, let's. Anybody else got anything to add on the All-Star weekend, or we're all just coming up with ideas that the MLB was never going to touch, anyways? So.
Have you seen the bunting competition they do in Japan?
I did see a clip of that on YouTube there. That's hilarious.
They just have little targets, so you have to bunt and try and hit the middle of the target.
No, that's exactly, again, right. I think right in the wheelhouse of what would work great for baseball. So, all right. Do you have anything else from Discord, Mark? We're starting to wind up here.
There's a lot of well, the question directed at Kirby, but probably anybody could give their input. What are the limits placed on starters? With the limits placed on starters and middle relievers being shuffled in and out, how do you see the future contracts for pitching?
I mean, I don't know.
Feel free to not answer that one.
No, it is a
for anybody.
Yeah, it's a good question, but it's tough. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, there's really no way for me to answer that. I don't know enough to, really. I mean, I think just the limit on pitching. I mean, I think there's a lot of guys that don't even enjoy being limited for what they, if they want to. A lot of guys that, especially in the minor leagues, guys that are on pitch counts and stuff, I mean, they can get through. They could have an innings limit, and they get through, 6 innings and 58 pitches, and it's like, well, is he really getting better? I mean, you just took him out in 58 pitches, so it could happen up there as well. And so, I mean, it's tough. That's really tough. I mean, there's so many factors that go into that.
I do think I think the point of this question generally would be that, are guys going to continue to get paid like the workhorse pitcher when expectations for a starter now, like if a guy goes 5.5 innings and pitches into the 6th, that's a good outing, by today's standards, right? So
Burns won the Cy Young with 170 innings?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like it's 200 is 200 even mean the same thing? It's now like it's 185, 180 is now.
I mean, even Robbie Ray, who pitched like close to the most innings out there. I know he wasn't. He was in the top 5. I think he was at 193. But you go back 10 years, and 193, he's not even the top.
Roy Halladay's got another 90 innings to go.
Yeah. So if starting pitchers are pitching 25% less, are those contracts gonna shrink by 25%? I don't think so. I think
everyone's still going to get paid because there's nothing based on innings pitched anymore. It's your FIP, it's your WAR, it's all these things that the lesser innings aren't going to take into effect. And I liken it to the NFL. When we grew up watching the NFL, if you were a nickel corner, if you were a nickel defender, you had to check with the coach every week, make sure I'm still employed, right? Show up on Sunday, right? Okay. Now they're getting paid left, right, and center because now base offenses, instead of 2 wide receivers, are 3 wide receivers, 4 wide receivers, 5 wide receivers. So the starters in baseball are still going to get paid, and it's going to benefit the Kirby Sneeds of the world, those middle inning guys, especially now where in the past, some of those guys might have been brought in to face that one batter. Now from the rule, they're bringing in 3 batters. So these pitchers are going to continue. That money's still going to be there to be made. And for the starters, the big thing is no one's paid on innings pitched anymore. Some of us old school guys may wish that was different. Who didn't love watching Roy Halladay do his thing for 7 or 8 innings? I mean, my God, it was absolutely glorious. But just it's FIP, it's WAR, it's all these other metrics that are in play now.
We
so
just
this is
realized
kind
now
of fun.
that Nolan Ryan's taking people's jobs by throwing complete games, right? That could have been 4 people getting paid.
Exactly. Greedy Nolan Ryan, right? That's what his reputation is based on. Greedy.
So this is a comment from Discord here, and it just goes really well with what we're talking about with pitchers and going back to the skills competition. But it's Snowless Newfie says, I want to see a pitcher's home run derby.
I'm in.
Wow.
Could be fun. Let's see how many bombs Kirby hits.
Sure. If there's a National League DH, then why not, right? Where else are you going to see it?
I like that. All right, let's pivot to our last topic of the night, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Thanks again, everyone, for sacrificing 2 hours of their night tonight. But before we do, Sports Illustrated ranked minor league farm systems recently, and the Blue Jays came in at 19th, substantially lower than they were just 7 months ago, where they were ranked as high as third place in some sources. How much of this is Canada just not getting any love, and how much of it is the departures of guys like Austin Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson from our farm system? Scott,
Karen?
do you want to start with that one?
Karen seems like she had something to say. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, it's obviously that trade, and that certainly seems to have paid big dividends for the big club because they not only got Jose Barrios, but they extended him. So very well done. And don't forget that two of the higher ranked prospects from a year ago have now graduated, and they're now helping the major league team win, being Alek Manoah and Alejandro Kirk. I mean, the Blue Jays, I'm not that worried about the farm system dropping because the Blue Jays as an organization are doing what they should be doing. They've moved forward from rebuilding in 2019 to now a major league club that's looking to not only contend but win. And so a couple of those prospects are helping the big league team, and another couple of prospects help bring in a good pitcher from another organization. So I think they're very much on the right track, and they continue to add to the farm system. Even if it's guys that are in the lower levels of the farm system, they'll be coming up, and some of them will be contributing in the future. So
I think that's incredibly well put, and I think that is a big reason why we saw the drop in that number. But I also think it's a little bit of Canada getting snubbed too. So I don't think they're actually a 19th overall farm system. I think they're probably a little bit higher than that. But it's Sports Illustrated, and I mean, the American market is much bigger than the Canadian market. It just makes sense, right?
All those Yankees fans just want to see their team ranked high, right?
One thing I'll add to that too is I don't think they take into account all of the development people that the Blue Jays have put in system to get those prospects better. You know, the things that just from seeing it for the last couple of years, you know, I went to a velo camp and it improved my skill and it really helped me learn more about myself. So I think just the things that they're putting in place for those lower level guys to really, you know, fine tune their game it's leaps and bounds above numerous other organizations, and a lot of players will tell you that for sure.
I'm sure even the facilities in Dunedin, the upgrade there, like it just what it's providing for sure.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to mention to that is that like rating your prospect system is tough because when you've got players like baseball's a sport where you can make it older, but you've got 22-year-olds who are runner-up for MVP. You've got Alek Manoah stepping up, and he's a prospect in another organization due to his age, but he came here and gave us wins and contributed right now. So it's just like Bichette is technically the age of a prospect. No, he's not a prospect anymore because he's good. He's in the major leagues contributing.
Yeah,
so when you've got people who are of the age of prospects who would be prospects, but they're not because they're all-star Major League Baseball players, that number really doesn't mean too much. And the fact that you've got Groshans, you've still got Pearson, you've got Gabriel Moreno, you've still got massive pieces that will contribute to the wins in the future. And so you're the youth. We're the youngest team in Major League Baseball by a year. Right, but we've got the 19th best prospects. It doesn't make. It's just
they
throw
do
that
kind
out.
of counter each other.
Yeah,
Mark, you had a comment from YouTube to get to. That's kind of on topic here for Kirby.
Nope, muted.
My bad.
It's all right.
I was typing. I didn't want you to hear my keyboard.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Somebody just asked if Kirby can tell us about the Performance Center in Dunedin.
Question.
Yeah, it's state of the art for sure. Yeah, I mean it's they put so much into it, and they've surrounded so many people in that place to just, I mean, every aspect of, just recovery, making sure that every player have, whatever they need and want. I mean, it's almost too much. I think we have too much access to things. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely probably the best. I mean, I obviously haven't seen much of the ones in Arizona, but I mean, I've heard that ours easily is the best now, and
Yeah.
and it's a good feeling to come there every day now. Just to get there. I mean, I'm excited to get down there for sure. I mean, I can't wait, and obviously the amount of time and effort that the Blue Jays have put into making sure their players are taken care of is awesome, and I think it's only going to lead to good things from here on out. Just the way the things that they've done, just for minor league guys and major league guys. So,
Do you think it makes a difference? Like, do you think a high-end facility like that
it does.
improve?
Just
Yeah.
it just, like, I think the main thing that players notice during spring trainings is it's just crowded a lot. There's a lot of days where there's so many moving parts and schedules and things in spring training to get, and when games first, when you first get down there, games aren't starting for another 2 or 3 weeks. So there's a lot of days of, guys just, it's hard when you first get ramped up and you start getting going, all that adrenaline starts kicking in, and, you're in competition again. And so I think that, the Blue Jays have totally outdone themselves, and just the way that they have put everything in place for us to be successful. So it's awesome.
No, love to hear it. All right, Mark, anything else from Discord to get to?
Not really. There hasn't been too much that I haven't asked so far.
All right, then let's start wrapping it up here. Karen, let's start with you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. When you're not featuring on the long toss here, where could people find you?
Yes, thanks so much for having me. So I have my own podcast YouTube show that is presented by Jays from the Couch, who I write for and also podcast for. That they have their podcasts Monday evenings at 6 p.m. And then I'm on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Right now in the off season, I'm doing every other Thursday just to make sure there's stuff to talk about. But I host Sunny Side of the Dome. It's a lot of fun. And I try to balance positivity with being factual and talk about the Blue Jays, of course, always staying positive, love the team, love the direction that they're taking. And yeah, if you're around, tune in, send me a question or comment. I love hearing from people. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
It's actually one thing I do really enjoy about Karen, your online presence as well as Sunny Side of the Dome, is there is an optimistic twinge to it that you don't always see in content creators, and it's a nice refreshing reprieve, if you will. So congrats on that, and we look forward to having you back down the road.
Yeah, I'd love to come back.
Absolutely. Joel, what are you working on nowadays?
First of all, Joel got with a real shot at us right there. Negative content creator.
Yeah.
Joel with a real shot at us right there.
I'm glad you read between the lines there, Craig. Yeah.
Right now, I've got a horror movie that's being casted right now that I wrote, and I actually got to do a lot of the casting on it. You guys know that I in talks with Tommy John to do his story, and we were talking to him just a little bit ago. We got a production company that we're hoping wants to pick it up. I don't know if you can see it right there, but there's my Tommy John script right there, written by me. And you can find me here at Hey Kami. That's my TikTok page. We just all sorts of baseball content all the time. Hey_Kami, and yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joel. Craig, what's going on, buddy?
Well, first of all, Joel, if you can finally get the world to understand that Tommy John was the pitcher and not the inventor of the Tommy John surgery, I would be indebted to you if we can start there. My goodness. But yeah, and we talked last week about how maybe people who are good at what they do have one name. Well, on Twitter, I'm at Craig Ballard 77. On TikTok, I'm Craig_Ballard. So not the sharpest job I've done there unifying things. but absolutely just love making Blue Jay content. I was thrilled to be invited on the first long toss last week, to get to come back this week, talking to everybody here. Just man, honestly, some great points made. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Tyler Saucedo last week. I really enjoyed Kirby Snead this week. This is a pleasure for me, guys. This is gentlemen, I was on the Blue Jays UK, which is another podcast that we support, that we like here
Nice.
on the
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about the walk-off. I taped that earlier today. So my Sunday has been spent talking Toronto Blue Jay baseball. Other people's Sunday has been, oh my God, there's no football. Oh my God. my Sunday today has been stellar. So I really thank you guys. An absolute pleasure. And I'm always a go Jays go.
Well, we love having you, Craig.
Appreciate
Scott, what about yourself? You got any big comedy shows coming up?
I'm headlining the club so I'm going to be playing Blairmore, Alberta at Pasco Brewing February 18th, and then I'm going to be playing the Comedy Club in Lethbridge, so some Southern Alberta dates. That'll be the 19th in February. Good times if you're in Southern Alberta. And then I head to Ottawa at the end of the month, and I'm playing the new comedy club there. Laugh Lounge is the name, and I promise Ottawa I won't bring a convoy with me, so you're all good there.
Good stuff, Scott. All right, and lastly here, Kirby Snead. Last we checked, you're a Blue Jay. So what's going on with the lockout? Are you excited to get back to ball soon, or what?
Yeah, man, it's getting to that every when it hits February, it's just, I'm ready to get going. So
well, you guys are supposed to report here in a week?
Yeah, so, it's like a week from today, I think.
So how are you staying busy?
Yeah, so I'm in Florida, so I'm just here. I have a good place that I work out at and stay in shape, and then I've been just staying ready. I mean, my main thing is I just try to take it a day at a time. I don't try to worry about what's to come. I'm just trying to handle each day as it is. So baseball will return. It's just a matter of when. So, but I'm, just staying ready until that moment comes.
All right.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. It was awesome.
Thanks again, Kirby. All right. Well, for everyone here at the Walkoff, thanks again for sitting down, and to everybody in the live chat or listening on iTunes and stuff after the fact. Had a lot of fun, and we'll catch everybody next Sunday.